So what was your first gig then? What was your first DJ? And what records did you play? What was your big tune?
This is in 1985. As far as I was, there were big DJs, but obviously a lot of them are now, being put through the whole Operation U Tree. And even then, we knew, didn't we, really, that they weren't like us. And but there were big DJs on the Northern Soul scene, and there were big DJs on the kind of reggae sound system scene. But where I was, which is a kind of indie kid who also loved disco, there was not really a DJ tradition. I mean, as far as I knew. Obviously, once you research books like mine, you realise that there were lots of people doing great work. But what I'm saying was there wasn't a role model. So my first DJ gigs were, where me or friends would put on a gig and they'd ask me to play music before and after the gig because somebody had to. And in fact, I remember playing hip hop before the Sonic Youth gig at the New Ardery. So not only was it my own gig, but I ended up DJing as well, just because I wanted to, I guess. So there was a band called Big Flame, and there's probably about 3 people in this room who, when I say Big Flame, like, oh my God, Big Flame, I saw them. They were John Peel type band, and they put on gigs at a club in Manchester called the Man Alive, which was smaller than here. And they put on The Age of Chance, the June Brides, That Petrol Emotion, Chack, those kind of bands. And they asked me to play music before and after. And there was a very small dance floor that was about the sizes from here to that first set of tables. So once you got the band set up, then the dance floor was even smaller. So that was the best thing ever, because it meant I could fill the dance floor with ease, because it only needed 5 people, basically. And yeah, so that's how I kind of started DJing. And I remember playing, I didn't really have enough records, really. I borrowed them from Big Flame sometimes, but I played, at that point, Trouble Funk and those sort of bands were around, so I played that kind of stuff. Then I played the kind of stuff that the bands were, so like the June Brides and that kind of early stuff, Jesus and Mary Chain. God, who knows? Iggy and the Stooges, probably. And then I Feel Love, it was literally... My thought was, my theory about DJing, this is probably the reason why I'm not a millionaire DJ, my theory is that you play your favourite records of that week in the best order that you can to create some kind of a excited atmosphere. Yeah. And that is it, and if you try and guess what they might want to hear, or you start playing stuff that you liked 10 years ago which you don't really like now, or stuff that you think you should like because the kids are into it, then really you're just faking it and you should go home. So I just did that then, I just played those are my favourite records, bang, bang, bang. And then you learn to kind of put them in an order that is just helpful, so you don't follow I Feel Love with Jesus and Mary Chain. It's not probably going to work, but if you can you could probably play Thieves Like Us by New Order in the middle, and it might work.
And is that still your strategy now? Because you play all over, don't you?
Yeah, still play, still DJ a lot. I mean, actually, sounds a bit... I don't know how I'm coming across in this interview. Anyway.
We're on a chat. It's not an interview.
At this point, I'm going to come across as quite conceited. But I'm actually far better DJ now than I ever was. And I actually do gigs now where I'm like, at the end, I'm like, fuck, that was good. Whereas most of the other time, I'm like, fuck, I got away with that. And the Hacienda years, I didn't know what, we didn't know what we were doing, really. It was just, you just put on the music and don't think about it too much. Be instinctive. So, Anyway, with that Man Alive gig with the small dance floor, what then happened was 1 week, Big Flame said to me, we haven't got a band in 3 weeks' time. Would you just do a disco night? I'm like, what, just me? I'm like, yes, 10 till 2. And that was my first proper DJ gig. And I arrived the next week. There was a band on the next week, but every week there was a newsletter. And I picked up the newsletter and it said, 2 weeks' time, it was March or something, March the whatever, disco night with DJ Miserable Dave. And I'm like, what? Why? That's not me. What?
I've got a confession to make. Neil Howson from The Age of Chance told me years ago. He said, "Yeah, that's how we've always known Dave, as Miserable Dave. That's where it comes from." Thanks for.
I thought, I didn't know much. Like I said, I didn't know much about DJing, but what I did know was that name was not going to get me very far.
Miserable Dave? You're not miserable, are you?
I am actually, yeah.
All right.
I have a little button that I press.
You're miserable button.
I have my sociable button, which I press, and yeah.
So come on, so this gig, so you rock up at this gig with your box of records.
You see, I thought you were quite deep. So I thought if I said that actually I'm really miserable, you were going to pick up on that, and we're going to talk about the reasons for my misery.
Lulling you into
But
misery.
You want to talk about music? That's good. That's good. Much easier.
We'll start to get to that in a couple of hours' time, when you're more relaxed.
Okay. What was the question? I'd rock up with a box of records.
Yeah. At this first gig that you're doing.
Yeah, and I mean it worked, and that was March 1985, and in May 1986, I started Thursday night residency at the Hacienda. So 14 months after that first gig, I was let loose from 9 till 2 every Thursday at the Hacienda. That was you could tell that I don't do drugs because I can remember all the dates. May the 1st, 1986, started DJing at the Hacienda on a Thursday. And 2 months later, they offered me Saturday as well. So 86, I was doing, obviously in that time as well, there was no guest DJs, so you turn up at 9 o'clock and you wouldn't be allowed home till 2, which was brilliant. And I don't know why. It's just the best kind of DJing. You're playing the same club every week for 5 hours. You learn how to program. You have to build the night. If you cock up, it doesn't matter because you know what tunes are going to pull the crowd back. The audience, obviously, they know what you kind of thing you play, so you know they're going to appreciate you. So it was just a big adventure. I mean. So I did that Thursday night every night for 4 years at the Hacienda, up until October 1990. So, and the Saturday I did for about 3 years. So, and obviously the adventure was that whole explosion from, 86, which was, there was bits of go-go, bits of funk, bits of kind of boogie, early house. And then I was kind of the only DJ in the Hacienda that played things like New Order as well. Yazoo, Situation, Memorabilia, those sort of records. And then obviously, the kind of the culture evolved and grew, and we were there. It was brilliant.
For somebody who didn't take drugs, what was it like, and what did you notice about how those changes were taking place as ecstasy came into Manchester?
Well, I kind of picked up on it really early because I knew some of the dealers. No. I mean, my friends are the ones who were taking the drugs, basically. But also the thing is that when you're a DJ, I'm learning all this now. At the time, I just hadn't got a clue. But looking back, I realised that as a DJ, you are a little bit of an anthropologist. You know, it's important to watch people. It's important to watch how people behave from 9 p.m. through till 2. And it's important also to know how to access their sensibility and to capture that atmosphere and get on their wavelength. And do that, and you connect with them. And there is an emotional connection that you make as a DJ with the audience, I think. And if there isn't an emotional connection, I don't know why anyone DJs, really. Because that is a great thing. So you get on their wavelength, and if you're on the same wavelength as them, they kind of also put their trust in you. You know, they pay their whatever, £5 to come and hear you. They're putting their trust in you. So it's a fantastic relationship. And part of that, the mindset of a DJ is to understand, well, where are the audience at? And obviously, you know, there's a difference between an audience who are, well, obviously there'd be a difference between an audience who are drinking cider and an audience who are drinking Earl Grey tea. Well, at the same, not that anyone did in a club, but my point is, as big a difference as between an audience drinking lager and an audience drinking ecstasy, or taking ecstasy. You don't drink ecstasy, do you? You know, and there's a massive difference. And as a DJ, you've got to really be on the case, because otherwise the records aren't going to work.
Were you able to respond to that as you saw it was happening?
Yeah, absolutely.
It almost seemed like it was overnight.
Well, it wasn't. It wasn't really overnight, because I think the music came before the drug. The music, what we now call house music. We were playing. Even those big records like Jack Your Body, they were hit records in 1986. So those records were already beginning to be played, and they were already making sense to the audience, because the audiences at the Hacienda did want to hear new stuff. They wanted to hear different stuff. And so, we were duty-bound as DJs to go and find stuff that no one else was playing. So if there were 10 records, that had come out of Detroit one particular week and arrived in England, probably 3 of them would end up in Eastern Bloc Records in Manchester. And as a DJ, you'd want to be one of the 3 DJs to pick up on that record. So you were looking for the new music always. So the music came first. And I can remember trying to program acid tracks type bleepy music into an eclectic set. Obviously now you go and hear a house DJ and it's like, 122 BPM for 5 hours or whatever. But I've always been eclectic, and it was not easy, obviously, to kind of work out how to program the music, but you could. And it could make sense. But then it was end of 87 into 88 that ecstasy came. So there was an 18-month gap.